Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of FFB from the 50. The season is 2/3 of the way over, and how you doing? Today I'm going to talk about my teams. We're going to take a look at the leagues that I'm in and see how I'm doing. But before we get started, welcome back to another episode of FFB from the 50, brought to you by JDP Media. All right, Week 9 is in the books. We are roughly 66% of the way through the season, which means we are 2/3 of the way through. And as promised, I wanted to talk to you about the leagues that I'm in and let you know how I'm doing in those. We're going to start off with my Hybrid Keeper Dynasty League. So right now, currently in that league, I am 8-1, and I have the most points in the league. Let's go ahead and take a look at the draft results. Now, when I say draft results, what I need you to understand, these results, they're not exactly 100% accurate if you're looking at the draft. In this league, we are allowed to keep certain players. Every year we get 3 contracts, a 3-year, a 2-year, and a 1-year contract that we are able to give to the members on our final roster. So as you can see, those add up. This year we carried quite a few players into this season. So I already had several that were from previous seasons that I was able to hold on to. So when I show you the draft results, I don't want you to think that this is indicative of where these players were actually drafted. This is after 4 or 5 years of building this roster up to where I've got it right now. All right. So here, looking at the roster that I had coming into the start of the season, I had, for a quarterback, I had Lamar Jackson. Did not have a second quarterback on my roster at that time. Didn't feel like I needed one. Lamar was pretty good. This is only a 10-person league. Didn't feel the need to carry a second quarterback. My wide receivers were Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Elijah Moore, Sky Moore, and Julio Jones. My running backs were Austin Eckler, Ramondre Stevenson, Tony Pollard, Kareem Hunt, Kenneth Gainwell, and Isaiah Pacheco. And my one and only tight end was Travis Kelce. Now, as you can see, this is one of those leagues that I did not take a kicker or a defense. I was more concerned with getting guys like Sky Moore, Kenneth Gainwell, and Isaiah Pacheco on my roster. Wanted to see how those things shook out. Wanted to see how those depth charts finalized before the season began. So yeah, this is one of those leagues where I just didn't feel the need to take a kicker or a defense. Like I said, it's only a 10-person league. I was able to go out and pick up other people as I needed them and stream my kicker and my defense. All right, so that's what my roster was looking like then. Right now, going into Week 10, my roster looks a bit different. I have the same core, but you'll see some changes. So I do have a second quarterback on my roster, Mr. Justin Fields for the Bears. I added him. I needed a quarterback. I've got Lamar Jackson going into a bye week this week. I also thought he wouldn't be a bad one to have on my roster. I've got extra space. My roster has changed a bit, though. I've got guys like Isaiah Likely on my roster. James Conner, who was dropped after injury, is on there. And I've got Jarvis Landry. So, as you can see, I've made some changes. Right now, for Week 10, I've got Jake Elliott as my kicker and San Francisco as my defense. Again, I tend to stream those based upon matchups, so not too terribly concerned. I am the reigning champion from last year, so my first-round pick, in all truth, was the final pick of the first round this year. And I went with Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was not contracted after last season. All right, so again, going back out, taking a look at the league. Right now I'm currently standing in first place at 8-1. I've gotten over 1,400 points on the season so far, which is tops in the league. No other player has quite yet hit 1,300. That is obviously going to change this week. All right, moving on to my second league that I'm in. Now, this one is just a standard redraft league. So every year we start brand new rosters. Not doing so hot. I am in fourth place. I will say that looking at this, my record is 5-4 in fourth place. I do have the most points for the league right now, but I've had some bad matchups. So 5-4 with the most points in fourth place. I'm in the playoff hunt right now, but that is subject to change. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the draft results. Now, this one here is a true redraft. So, as you can see, I had the 5th pick. In the first round, I took Justin Jefferson. Second round, Deebo Samuel. Third, finally grabbed DeAndre Swift. Fourth round, grabbed A.J. Brown. Fifth round, Breece Hall. Got Patrick Mahomes in the 6th. 7th round, Allen Robinson. 8th, Tony Pollard. T.J. Hawkinson. Elijah Moore. James Robinson. Julio Jones. Kenneth Gainwell. And in this league, I went ahead and took a defense in the 14th and a kicker in the 15th. Really wasn't a whole lot of extra talent out there that I wanted to take a flyer on that late. So that's what we had at the time. Let's take a look at my team now, see what it looks like. So as you can see, Patrick Mahomes is still my quarterback. That's kind of an obvious no-brainer. Justin Jefferson and Deebo Samuel are still my wide receiver 1 and 2. I have made a trade. I sent A.J. Brown out for Aaron Jones and Kareem Hunt. When I made that trade, that was before the trade deadline. There was speculation Kareem Hunt might have gotten traded. I was really hoping for that. Unfortunately, one of those losses that I suffered was the week that A.J. Brown went off right after I traded him for Aaron Jones, so go figure. Went out and picked up Jamal Williams, needed a handcuff for DeAndre Swift. Probably should have done that earlier on, but I was able to get him anyway, so that worked out all right. All right, T.J. Hawkinson is still my tight end. As you can see, I went out and grabbed Deontay Foreman after the Christian McCaffrey trade. I have Tony Pollard. Went out and grabbed Mecole Hardman and Curtis Samuel to fill in some gaps. Recently just went out and picked up Odell Beckham. Swift and Hunt are still my team, but I went ahead and picked up Odell Beckham. There is a lot of speculation that he might end up getting signed here real soon. We are probably only 2 to 3 weeks away from his return, which means that I'm assuming a team will try to jump on him as quick as possible. I did want to make use of my 2 IR spots. I went ahead and grabbed Jameson Williams, and just recently, as of, I believe, today, went out and grabbed Kyron Williams. Jameson Williams has been on my IR spot for pretty much the whole season. I was hoping that he'd be able to return earlier on in the year. If you think back to the beginning of the season, Detroit's offense was lighting it up. At one point, they actually had the number 1 offense. So, not a bad roster. Got the most points in the league, so it must not be terrible, but I am 5-4 due to some bad matchups. Those things tend to happen, and you just kind of try to make the best of it. It is what it is. Injuries, bad matchups, high scores, people go off. That's part of fantasy football. What you hope for is that over the course of a 16 or 17 game season that will all average out. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at the league that I traveled to Ohio to play with Adam and Teresa, so shout out to you two. A lot of really good folks there in that league. Adam and Teresa have been on this channel. Go out and check out the Barside chats that we did out at their place. This league I'm having some troubles in, so I'm currently in 7th place with a record of 4-5. I have been absolutely decimated by injuries. So if we go out and we take a look at the draft results, you're going to see a stark difference between what my team looks like now versus what my team looked like then. I had the number 1 overall pick. I took Jonathan Taylor. We know how that's worked out. He's missed multiple games for the Colts this season, has underperformed. That offensive line has not looked good. It cost head coach Frank Wright his job. And we'll see if Chris Ballard, the GM, follows. They're making major changes there. This is definitely a rebuild season for the Colts, and Jonathan Taylor has felt that very, very badly. Second round, I went ahead and took Mike Evans. He was the best wide receiver available at that time, in my opinion. He has underperformed with the entire Tampa Bay offense. Don't forget, he got himself suspended for a game after getting into a fight with the New Orleans Saints. My third round pick was Javonte Williams. Unfortunately, we know what happened to him. That's another injury bug. He is out for the season with the torn ACL for the Denver Broncos. So my first round and third round picks, Jonathan Taylor and Javonte Williams, have been major disappointments for me. My fourth round pick, Travis Etienne, has actually paid off pretty well. Fifth round, Breece Hall. So again, another running back that's been out for the season. So out of my first 5 picks, I took 4 running backs. This is the league that I feel like I've been cursed in. Every single year, I've drafted guys like Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley and just had so many injuries. It's been ridiculous. This year is absolutely no different. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 6th round pick. Why break the trend? Michael Thomas, also out for the season with whatever is ailing his toe. So through the first 6 rounds of this league, 3 of my guys are out for the season. One guy has missed multiple games. One guy has got himself suspended. I'd say Travis Etienne in the 4th round is definitely my best pick so far. 7th round, Juju Smith-Schuster, who's come on as of late. 8th round, Allen Lazard, doing pretty well. 9th round, I took Brian Robinson. This was before he was shot. So, of course, he missed multiple games in the preseason. Feeling very cursed in this league. I'm glad he's okay. That's a bigger story than my fantasy football team. Obviously, that's real life. But Through 9 rounds, you can see the absolute injuries have devastated my team. Don't forget Alan Lazard's been banged up this year too. 10th round, I took Robert Woods. I was not sold on Treylon Burks being the number 1 wide receiver for Tennessee. A.J. Brown got traded. I figured somebody would have to step up, and it would be him. That has been a disappointment. 11th round, hey, Dak Prescott, who also missed a lot of games. It has been downright tough for this team. Cole Kmet, took a flyer on him in the 12th round as my tight end. He's come on strong recently, but unfortunately took him, 8 weeks to really get rolling. So he's not on my roster at this point. Julio Jones, who spent most of the season injured. And I went ahead and took a kicker and a defense, starting with a defense in the 14th round to Cleveland. 15th round, I took Harrison Butker. So Jonathan Taylor has missed time due to injury. Mike Evans has missed time due to suspension. Javonte Williams is out for the season. Breece Hall is out for the season. Michael Thomas is out for the season. Alan Lazard has missed time due to injury. Brian Robinson was shot right before the season started. Dak Prescott missed time due to injury. Julio Jones has missed time due to injury. Folks, this is tough. I hate to say this. I hate to be proud of a losing record. But at this point, I think going 5-4 or 4-5, through this part of the season, that's a victory. I should be in last place, but somehow I managed to wind up in 7th place. So definitely on the outside looking in. But when you look at this team and you look at the league that I'm in, 4-5, I'm still in the playoff hunt. The number 1 team is 7-2, which is great. But the team that's in 4th place is only 4-5. Only 1 game separates us and less than 40 points. So by no means am I out of it. I am working my buns off trying to make this team competitive on a week in and week out basis. So wish me luck. Let's hope for some health. I know none of us ever want to root for somebody else to have injuries. If I lose, I want it to just be because I scored less, but we'll see. All right, so this next league I want to show you, this is another redraft league. This is the league that has 30 players on it. This is a league where you get to the latter half of the draft. You're just hoping for somebody who's breathing and may actually see the field. So let's take a look and see how I'm doing. Believe it or not, I'm actually 8-1. I'm in first place in this league. This is another league where I've scored the most points. I'm on a 5-game winning streak. Things are looking pretty good. I would show you the draft results for this team, but it is ridiculous to the point of absurdity. So I'll just show you my starting roster. So my 2 starting quarterbacks are Josh Allen, Derek Carr. I do have a 3rd quarterback on this team. I don't normally carry 3 quarterbacks, but when you're this deep, this is also just an incredibly deep league. You have to take 3 quarterbacks because there's nobody left to cover for bye week. So Trevor Lawrence is my backup quarterback. Wide receiver-wise, Isaiah McKenzie, Allen Robinson, Ben Skroenek. I don't think I'm pronouncing that correctly, but, the Rams wide receiver. Cedric Wilson. And then moving on down, I got Marquise Goodwin, Romeo Doubs, who's looking like he's going to miss some time, Tyquan Thornton, Nick Westbrook-Akeen, Will Fuller, who hasn't even seen a snap and has not been signed by any team so far this year, Khalil Shakir. He's actually played pretty well for Buffalo when he's had the chance. Rashid Shaheed, who's come on a little bit stronger in the last few weeks. Demir Bird, same thing, not catching many passes, but he seems to take them to the house when he does. N'Keal Harry and Deshaun Jackson. When you look at my running back situation, it's pretty crazy. I feel like I'm fortunate to have the running backs I have in a league this deep. I've got Travis Etienne, Deontay Foreman, Dameon Pierce. Scrolling down here, I got Joe Mixon on bye this week, but he's produced pretty well for me, especially last week when he went off. Isaiah Pacheco, Kenneth Gainwell, Malcolm Brown, who I just recently picked up, and J.K. Dobbins on the IR. My tight ends in this league, Robert Tonyan, Logan Thomas, and Irv Smith, who is on IR. So I know the names don't sound very sexy, but when you're in a league this deep with this many players per team, you do what you have to do. Now, I was in 2 guillotine leagues. The one league I was bumped out in the very first round, didn't make it very far. Felt like I came out of the draft pretty well, but unfortunately injuries early in the season just absolutely killed me. Most guillotine leagues, you start out with 18 teams. This was no different. Start out with CeeDee Lamb, Nick Chubb, Cortland Sutton, Dameon Pierce, Alan Lazard, T.J. Hawkinson, Justin Fields, Isaiah Pacheco. Cleveland's defense, Rondell Moore, Mike Davis, Robert Tonyan, Marcus Mariota, Dustin Hopkins, Keyshawn Vaughn, and Gus Edwards. As you know, a lot of these folks were hurt and didn't even start the season. The ones that did weren't really playing 100% at that point. Dameon Pierce is a prime example. Justin Fields, another one that's come on recently. Rondell Moore started the season injured, didn't play. Robert Tonyan was still coming back from his knee injury. It was rough, folks. So in that one, I was actually knocked out in the very first round. The second guillotine league that I'm in, doing much better. I'm still alive. I'm in third place in the league. I'm just going to go over the draft results because in the guillotine league, as each person is cut from it, their players go on free agency, so those teams, they change so rapidly. They change weekly. So draft results, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, Antonio Gibson, Tony Pollard, Robert Woods, Julio Jones, Justin Fields, Isaiah Pacheco, Mo Ali Cox, Amir Abdullah, Isaiah Spiller, Tyler Conklin, Chris Evans, Will Fuller, and Hassan Haskins. This is one of those teams that has definitely changed. Now, in the guillotine, it's not always best to do really well at the beginning of the season. You don't want to be the last place person, but you don't want to be so high up that you miss out on those good waiver claims. Most guillotine leagues work in reverse order, so if you're in second to last place, you don't want to be in last place, you're going to get cut if you are, but if you're in second to last place, you're going to get the number one waiver claim, have first pick at the best players that were dropped each week. So first half of the season, you want to be competitive enough that you don't get eliminated, but not so good that you can't put good waiver claims on. Very pleased to say that I am still alive and in the running in that league. So we'll see how that goes. Now, there is one other thing I want to talk about here real quick, and this is a huge kudo to Yahoo Sports, Yahoo Fantasy Sports in particular. They have different levels that they do. So breaking that down, you start with bronze. Bronze, you're 0 to the 59th percentile. Silver, you're between 60th and 80th percentile. Gold, you're 81st to 94th percentile. Platinum, 95th to 98th percentile. And diamond, which is the highest, you are at the 99th percentile or above. In case you guys are wondering why I have the moxie to actually come out here in YouTube land and talk about my fantasy team, I am actually ranked diamond. I'm in the top 99th percentile of all players across the United States. So my rating is 914, 14 points above that diamond league cutoff, or that diamond level cutoff. So that's where I'm at. All right, folks, if you could, go down in the comment section. Let me know how your teams are doing. If you have a team that's performing really well, I want to hear about it. I want you to go down there. I want you to post screenshots of your team if you can. If you're not able to post a screenshot, go through, type out your teams. Let me know who's on your team, who's not. If you have a team that's not doing well, but there's a good reason for it, such as injury, like the one team I showed you that I've got in Ohio, go out and post that too. I want to hear about your bad luck. I want to know that I'm not the only one going through it. I know that when it comes to those kind of things, part of the language, we all want to kind of bitch and bellyache. I am there with you. I will be your shoulder to cry on. So go down to the comment section. Let me know how you're doing. All right, folks, that's it for this episode. I'm going to go ahead and post this. Today is Thursday the 10th. I'm going to go ahead and post this tonight and compete with some Thursday night football. If nothing else, hopefully this can entertain you if the Carolina versus Atlanta game does not. Tomorrow on Friday, I'll be releasing the Week 10 injury report updates. It was mercifully brief going into the early portion of the week. Unfortunately, we've had more injuries added to it since. Some big names. So make sure you come to the YouTube channel that I've got here, FFB from the 50, and take a look at that injury report and those injury updates that I'm giving tomorrow night going into the weekend so you know how to schedule your lineup and construct your roster for this week. All right, folks. Until next time, see ya.